Well, I'm Cynthia Becker, and I'm the host of the reality series CPS The Horror Stories. I'm not an attorney or a social worker, but I am a mom who lost her children for 2 years due to CPS kidnapping them. After the 2 years of fighting, I did get my kids back, and now I like to be an advocate and have this channel so that parents can tell their side of the story and how CPS and the traumatic events, corruption, and devastation that they cause families by removing children, and usually it's wrongfully. So, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Amber Carter, and that introduction hits me so good. Um, okay,
Where are you from?
I'm from Waynesville, Missouri.
Okay. How many children do you have?
I have 4.
And were they all removed?
Yeah,
Were you ever in this system as a child?
no.
Okay. So tell me, why did CPS come in your life, and what was the first day?
Okay, well, it's been ongoing since I had a child with a man whose mother worked in social services over 20 years. Since the beginning of this child's existence, my number 2, I have dealt with social services and the harassment and everything else just because the paternal grandma of my son. It's been ongoing for 13 years.
So, wow, the paternal grandmother. I don't know if you know my story, but my mother was the one who kidnapped my kids with CPS.
My mom tried to as well on another occasion. Luckily, my children was like, well, Nana told me to say that. Thank you so much. Oh man, it's been a struggle for me. I also found out that there's a guardian ad litem that knows the people, multiple people within DFS itself, know the family. It's just the judge himself. I'm trying really hard to find, which I found out through watching your guys' programs and stuff on how to attempt to go about with the judicial system and the types of attorneys I'm gonna need for this case, because it's just the judge took paperwork out of my hand, ripped it, causing my fingers to bleed, just gushing blood down my hand in court, throwing away my evidence pertaining to my innocence, saying, why do you have my children in state custody? I proved my innocence. Here's my documentation. He threw it away and said, because I effing said so.
The
The
judge
judge,
said that?
yes, the judge himself said that. Through the last case before the one I'm dealing with now, this one's ongoing a year in October. It was a year this October. The last time it was over 2 years, and I hardly ever got to see him. So it's.
What are the ages? Remember, don't say the name. Just what are the ages?
I have a 13, 12, a 7, and 5, or 8 and 5. She just turned 8.
So did my son.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the first case. Tell me what the allegations were, who made them that you know of, and how it ended. Just run me through the whole thing.
For the case that's open now, or for the last case?
The last case.
That was the worst one yet. Son, he didn't want to do chores, which everyone has to provide for their family. It's not even like he had to do a lot. It was just take dishes, put them in the dishwasher, already pre-rinsed, already clean for the most part, and turn it on. Well, he went on this psychotic rampage and was just throwing glass. My infant was across the room. The glass shattered and it cut his feet all up, poor baby. And I'm just like, why on earth would you do that? Go stand in the corner. So what happened was, made him stand in the corner for doing that. Age appropriate, of course. He was like 6 at the time or whatever. I don't even remember. And he's like, well, I'm going to go tell my principal at school that you smacked me in my face. My late husband was alive at the time and was like, well, you go ahead and do that. And if you actually do, I actually will. Seems justified. Okay, well, he did that. The caseworkers came like the next day saying, well, we got a report of child abuse. I see everything's fine, but I don't, she was the lady that went to high school with the paternal father and his family and everything else. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how this is going to go, but okay. I had a little tiny basket of clean clothes. Everyone came down with the flu and virus. There was like 7 empty cans of chicken noodle soup that was rinsed out. I reused my products before I just recycled them. So I recycled them before I recycle them. So we do arts and crafts. I use it for, artwork and stuff like that. So they were out on the counter, rinsed out, mind you. And my house was pretty nice. I mean, 4 kids, everyone disastrously sick. There was nothing actually wrong with my house. But she was like, okay, well, I'll give you 3 days instead of just 2 to fix your house because it's in disarray. Like, I went around the house at the time taking photos. Like, what even is, what does that even mean? My house was perfect. So 3 days go by, had the door open. I lived on base. I'm a Gold Star. My late husband was a soldier on active duty when he died. So anyways, we lived on base, and it's mandatory on Fort Leonard Wood to be escorted by a military police officer whenever you go to people's houses. Don't know if you know that or not, but that's just protocol for Fort Leonard Wood.
This,
So,
not to interrupt you, I apologize, but I've heard of other military families that get caught up with CPS, and the stuff that happens to them, it blows me away because I'm like, you're screwing with probably the most wholesome families that are serving our country.
yeah.
Why are you effing with them?
Right. I mean, we're volunteers, Habitat for Humanity. We're always there, always on call for vets and soldiers and stuff like that. I'm a 7-year MOCA Head Start volunteer. I assist the new teachers as they come in, and I help train them, let them know the standards and stuff. So I deal with preschoolers all the time. And anyways, yeah, my late husband, he was a soldier for 10 years, and he's Iraq tour, 08-09, Afghanistan 12-13 tour at Camp Leatherneck. So I mean, we're sound family.
Is he the father of all the children?
He's the father to the last 2.
Okay.
But he accepted responsibility for the older 2, and they were on his deers, and he provided for them. That's the only dad they ever knew.
Of course.
So I was.
Yeah. So 3 days go by. What happens?
So they just ended up showing up at the door the day after. I was calling, leaving voicemails. Hey, it's that time of day. You're supposed to be here. Where are you? Nothing. No answer. No nothing. Kept calling like between 12 to 18 times the whole day long. Had my door open the whole time I was home. Well, the next day they come in with this mounting amount of people, taking the children, saying that we didn't meet criteria by the certain standard. Now, we started going through the whole process through court days and everything else, and it was brutal. Judge wouldn't let us talk. He was getting violent and cussing at us. We had hired a lawyer later on, but I mean, this just goes in so deep because I was threatened by the judge that I better shut my effing mouth or else. And then he was starting to tell me I need to leave town. You better watch your mouth. We know it's good for you. Because I was calling him out. I could see white powder in his nose. At one point, the American flag was touching the ground. He was constantly cussing us out. Drove my husband insane. He already struggled from PTSD. That just threw him off the top. He was already on between 7 pills in a day. Like he was struggling mentally.
So how did this get to court, though? Fill me in the middle.
That's what happened. They just showed up saying we didn't meet the standards on time, that the house was in disarray, and we never followed through with anything, and they took the kids.
Where'd they take them?
They put them in foster care.
Did they keep them together?
No. She molested. She had to go get something out of her eye. Now she has like a lazy eye in her eye on one of them.
Make sure you don't say their names.
Oh.
It's okay. I know. It's natural, so it's okay because we'll edit it out.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, who molested your daughter?
One of the other, the older kids, he was like a teenager or whatever that Katie was. They kept it from me until the case was closed, and my daughter's the one that said it to me because they removed her from the home and placed her in another one without telling me or anything.
It's making me so mad.
It'll make you even madder when you find out. I don't know if you're gonna have to edit this or not, but the judge that was threatening me, within 3 days of being threatened, my husband ended up in a fatal motorcycle accident. And then I had a cop car attached to the back of my vehicle and forced me out to the road while a big truck with the words "yee yee" on the back tried bashing me in the side of my car. Like, he literally attempted to murder me after being threatened. And this case goes so deep because it intertwines with all these other corrupt cops and stuff. I found out about this big drug conspiracy and how a congresswoman is involved with it. And I mean, I can't find anybody to handle my case.
So, okay, so tell me, oh my gosh, my hair is driving me nuts.
It's fantastic.
Keeps getting in my face, and I'm like, so they took the kids and put them in foster care that day.
Yeah.
And did they have a warrant when they showed up? Any paperwork?
They gave us something, but they pushed us to the side and didn't even let us look at it or anything.
So it was probably done illegally.
Yeah, they handed us a paper, but they shoved it in on my chest, and then they pushed me into the back of the wall and made a way for them to enter my home.
Were there police there with them?
Yes, but not military police.
This makes me so sick.
Yeah, my youngest was still being breastfed. I got double mastitis in both my breasts. He wasn't eating at all. Now he has my kids are diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder and a RAD disorder, which is reactive attachment disorder. Anytime I get up to try and leave the room, they freak out because, oh, mommy, I was taken from mom. Mommy, don't leave, don't go. Have to be there by me, have to see me. I mean, they already were diagnosed with the possibility of autism and everything else, so they're on the scale. They're innocent, they're delicate, they're fragile-minded more so than others, unfortunately.
Yep,
They're extra special, extra slow.
my kids are dealing with all of those things.
Yeah, and that's all just because of them just up and ripping them out of my home. No warning, no nothing, no way to defend myself. My son, he had a heart murmur that is like, the doctor said it's in your best interest to not overexcite this child because the heart murmur, it was large enough that he needed surgery on it. So he could have like a heart attack or something. Anytime he ate, he drenched in sweat. So, I mean, it was life endangering for my youngest, and he almost starved to death.
So tell me, when they took the kids, did they give you a case plan or anything like that?
I didn't get anything besides a piece of paper in the mail, like hours before court.
What did it say?
At this time you have a hearing, or whatever it was. It was like 3 days later.
And then did you go, and what happened on that day?
The judge said that we should be lucky that he didn't take them from us permanently.
Why?
I don't know.
Sounds like a threat in a way, you know?
Yeah.
So how often did you get to see them?
Once, once every other week or once a month, supervised visitations. It was, they just up and like, okay, well, you can't talk about the case and you have to be supervised. So we had to meet there at the social services building, and they just up and stop the meeting sometimes, like, oh, hey, mommy, how are you doing? I'm okay. It's like, well, how's everything going? How soon can we come home? And they're like, well, I don't know, but I'm working on it. And they would instantly stop. It's like, well, I said you can't talk about the case to them. So they would rip them out of my hands, screaming and everything else, because we just got there. They would reschedule on us last second, and it would be like 2 months, 3 months before I got to see them or talk to them or anything, or finding out that I had to go to the hospital because something was lodged in her eye. No explanation of anything, how she's doing, if I could go and see her.
So they didn't tell you that she was in the hospital?
No.
That's not right either. You have every right to know when your kid is sick or something.
Right. Yeah, they came back when they finally got placed in the home. I had finally gotten someone from IIS. His name, I'm going to say his name because he's incredible. His name's Chuck, and he does not like social services. It's like, you know what? You could teach me. You've redirected me on a few things even. I've done over 14 parenting classes because my children are way out there with their disabilities. So I'm more than capable. I'm not an incompetent parent. I know how to raise my children. So he was highly impressed with me and how much I actually how much effort I have to put into my kids, because they're like so crazy after all that happened. They're so unstable, and they still are. And it wasn't until after him, over 2 years later, it was like 2.5 years later, is whenever I finally got my custody of my kids back. My lawyer didn't do anything. He even worked.
What were things that you had to do to get them back?
I didn't get any list, any check off things. Like, okay, well, I was already in the middle of doing a parenting class, so I was getting the document, the the certificate for it. I got it by the end of that week. I had it. I turned it in. It's like, no, that's not good enough. You have to do another one. And then it was just, I don't even know. They didn't even have a reason to begin with, and then they didn't have a reason to continue. And I was scared to death because my lawyer, I called him the instant that cop drove away from trying to force me out to the road. It's like, well, Amber, that's what happens whenever you tick off the judge. He didn't do anything for me. He was fighting for them on their behalf. I was being yelled and screamed at in court by the judge, by everyone else, by the guardian ad litem, who's really good friends with the opposing grandmother. There's so many people that are a conflict of interest and so much violence that's happened in my life. I'm just so done, which is leading me into this case here. He gave me till October 6th for my children to, I don't know, magically stop being disabled. I don't understand like what's going on this time either. The same people involved in the case as the last time. A judge I have to look in the face that laughed in my face saying that he was responsible for killing my husband. I have to look him in the eyes and thank him for giving me my children back. This case, my brother killed himself. He committed suicide. I got an evaluation from a place which they did use against me.
When did your husband pass? It was during the case?
Yeah, he passed away during the case. like not even 3 days maybe after we got threatened by the judge himself. We had cops following us around, pulling us over for no reason, giving us threats.
Was your husband there, or was he in Iraq already?
He got back in 2013, from 12 to 13. Shortly after that, he got his rank. We were sergeant family. Whoop whoop. From E4 to sergeant, you'd have no idea how hard it is for a specialist for an E4 to get an E5 status whenever you're in the 94th Engineer Battalion. It was so hard, and it took years to get it, and we were so proud of that. First, he took his rank, then he took his life.
He took his own life?
No, the judge took his life.
How did your husband pass?
He was in a fatal motorcycle accident.
In Iraq?
No, here. He was back for all of this.
Oh my gosh.
He just got back from deployment.
How did the accident happen?
The way that the cop forced me out to the road. He was driving on the he was driving around a curve, and eyewitnesses said that someone drove into his side of the road.
That must have been devastating for you.
It was. The caseworker that took my kids from me was smiling and chuckling in my face, telling me that my husband was dead. Telling me my husband died. And she was laughing about it.
So you lose your kids, then you lose your husband, and then you get treated like crap from everybody in the courtroom.
Yeah. It's like, well, he told you to shut your mouth. Smiling and laughing about it, like I knew better. Blows your mind, right? Like,
yeah. Yes, it does. Very much. It actually disgusts me.
So I was in the middle of all of this. The reason why he was telling me to shut my mouth and I better watch it, and the whole, dead husband thing was, I found out that he was working hand in hand with the Crip gang that an officer is actively involved in. And they have a local meth lab on a pig farm that if it were to go off and explode, it would hurt a lot of people. And that really shook me to the core, that all these people around here are at risk and we're all in danger because of just that. During my attempt to try and calling the FBI, them telling me the more I call in and give them evidence, they're going to put it at the bottom of the file. So I felt like there was absolutely nothing that I could do with the information that I have. I kept calling people just to find out that somebody up in Congress was one responsible for coordinating the dealing, not the dealings itself, but the safe transportation. They have a U.S. Marshal, they have highway patrol here, they have their own like little police station and everything. It's like a no-win situation. The more I try and deal with this, if I do anything about the judge, I know I'm at risk of my life ending too. But it has to come to that point. I was raised by soldiers. My stepdad, my dad, my grandpa. I was raised around Fort Leonard Wood by soldiers, so it's just coming to that point where I don't care if it takes my life. I have to do something about it, but first it starts with my kids and this corrupt judge who's helping keep these kids protected from the Crip gang. And you know, his wife, the judge's wife, was a vice principal at the school where my kids were going. And from what I was hearing, whenever they were talking to people, she was talking to other people on the side, other Crip members. There are kids that are in the school system where the judge's wife works that are actual victims of human trafficking. They're kidnapped children. There's just so much to this case and it all just goes into with DFS and this judge here, and I can't even. So it's hard for me to find someone who will represent me if they know it's how hazardous it is. They're like, no. Gotten a hold of Senator, a woman up in Congress, and no one seems to know what to do to help.
Have you heard of my attorney?
My mom found him and sent me a bunch of the videos of him, and I could really use his help. I've called and I left a couple of messages there.
Really?
Yeah. I let him know it was pretty urgent, because if I start fighting this case and expecting actual results that are following the actual laws, I might have another police vehicle attached to the back of my car.
So we do a radio show on Saturday night. Why don't you call in and you'll be able to talk to him and ask him questions?
Okay.
So tell me how the last case closed and you got your kids back, and then let's go over this last case.
I had Chuck from IIS. He's like, there's nothing wrong with this woman. Give her kids back. Intensive in-home services. And I have another one through this case now who's definitely on my side. She's not advocating for them, hopefully.
That's good.
Yeah.
So
Through Great Circle. That's who they're through.
do you have a case plan right now?
A case plan? Like a little checklist from social services?
Yes.
No. And they said they would have taken I couldn't make it to the last court date because I was having symptoms of COVID, but they had court without me and they wouldn't reschedule. They said, I don't know, the guardian ad litem, the massive conflict woman, she was saying, I don't even know why you have your kids at all to begin with, because they were placed back in the home with me finally. So I have, but they're going to take them again because of my disabled children who are diagnosed with defiant disorders, oppositional defiant disorder, refused to get on the bus and go to the school that was allowing my children to be called worthless, awful children by the teachers, ganged up on and jumped and bullied and physically assaulted, which was the direct reason why I put them in homeschooling. The final straw with my third in that school system was there was a hostage situation right by the bus stop, and I called and I told them, hey, this just happened. The cops just left. There was gunfire. There was people being held hostage. You should not let that bus stop right there. That seems logical to me, right? Don't do something like that. And I'm going to need my child picked up from school. Not only do they refuse to switch the bus route, but they refuse to let anyone come and pick up my child that was on the pickup list. Force her on the bus. Yeah. And then so I went up there and was complaining, and she instantly started saying, do you know who my husband is? my husband's Judge Hedricks. You better watch it. And just all kinds of threats. Like, you know what? That's a threat to my actual life and the threat to my safety and my safety of my children. Because we felt like the need for a lawyer to investigate something like that was pretty important. So nothing was ever done about it. She wasn't fired. She just up and moved to another school recently for
Where do
no
you,
apparent reason.
where are you still living on base and everything, or no?
No, I live off base. I'm off Fort Leonard Wood now, right outside the gate.
Are you remarried or anything?
I'm scared to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna do it again. There was someone on the back of the bike that looked like me. I definitely have survivor's guilt. She suffered a broken collarbone. Unfortunately, my husband wasn't like the most faithful. I don't want to talk bad about him because I love my husband, you know, but he was promiscuous and adventurous, and he loved to express that in certain ways that I didn't approve of. You know what I mean? So he definitely had a type, though. The woman on the back had short hair, short blonde hair. She looked just like me. So I bet they thought it was me and him.
She survived?
Yeah, she lived. She doesn't talk to me, though. So there might be, like, she said she didn't know. She saw a flash of light, and that was it. She thought it was because she hit her head or something. But she wasn't really paying attention. But she lived. The cheating woman.
I'm sorry you lost your husband.
Thank you. Yeah, he survived 2 tours just to be ended by corruption here. And so I really feel like to make his death worthwhile, to bring some meaning behind it, is to try and get, you know, save my town, save the neighboring towns from that lab. If it goes off next to the methane tanks that are almost empty, the explosion will be like 10 times greater. It's proven on Mythbusters. It's going to be catastrophic.
When's your next court hearing?
October 6th.
Okay.
I have till then for my kids to magically stop being disabled. I don't know how to not have children that are defiant when there's an actual mental disorder.
So I want you to call the radio station on Saturday night. Ask my assistant for my number and that number, so then you can message me.
Here, I got an old piece of mail from backed up stuff.
I know the radio number, but I don't know mine.
Yeah, I have things written down all throughout my my house here. So
the radio is 800.
888.
No, 800.
Okay.
222.
Yeah.
5222.
That's the radio station.
And it's from 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
On Saturdays.
Yep.
On Saturdays. Okay.
But I would call this Saturday so you can get your questions answered before your court hearing.
Right. So with this case, they said that I was neglecting them in education because of the hostage situation, putting them in homeschooling. Like, that isn't that shaking them under false pretenses? I never even got to see any evidence. I did not neglect them in education.
I homeschool.
Do you?
Yeah. There's actually a board, I forgot what it's called, but it's an association with homeschool, and they show up to court with you, or they call and everything. So I would look up that association.
Association of Homeschool.
And they help you with CPS.
Awesome. I'm gonna need legal representatives from just about every single angle. People to stand up for my disabled children in the school system, against CPS, against the crooked judge, against guardian ad litem. Like, there's 3 different legal representations I'm gonna need right there. And no one wants to take my case.
Wow. Where are your kids now? Are they in foster care?
They're about to be. They don't have any houses available right now in the foster system
So where are they?
at school.
But who has custody, or where do they live?
They're staying with me until they find them a home. They said that.
Okay, you need to bring that up to my attorney.
Okay.
Because the fact that they leave the kids with you, if you're that dangerous or whatever, the fact that you have your kids right now is huge. Huge.
Yeah. I love that they're here. It's just we're all counting down. They're hiding knives and stuff in the room. Someone breaks in, tries to steal me, Mommy. I'm gonna try and stay with you. You know, and it really gets to you after a while.
That's horrible.
Yeah. At school, I hide his phone. We hide his little phone. He has his own phone now, little 5-year-old. Sorry, I said his name again. Just because he's scared someone's gonna come and take him when he's there. I'm like, okay, take your phone. If anything happens, you can call me, okay? And so this is his first year in school, and he's scared to death to leave me because he's never gonna see me again. That really bothers me a lot more than losing my husband.
I know.
I've been a mom since I was 15. I gave up my childhood for my kids. I've been homeless with my boys. I had 4 jobs and then another side job on the weekends. I had to struggle and work hard just to graduate and then try and get through college. I can't let it be for nothing. I don't know how to not be a mom. So
I feel for you. I understand. I've been a mom too for 10 years. Actually, longer than that because I was a stepmom.
I literally raised my little sister since I was 9. My family was good for nothing. They're all drug addicts and alcoholics, and I got no support group, no role models, and I was scared to death of being a bad mom, to the point where I had all them parenting classes, which they did actually use against me. Like, oh, look, she doesn't know how to be a mom. Look how many classes she's had to take. Like, they're so brutal, and you can't fight it because it's the law that's doing it.
And they have no repercussions. There's nobody above them to give consequences.
Yeah. And no one believes me. I mean, Dylan, my oldest, was like, well, how often does something like this happen, Mom? Of course nobody's going to want to believe you. I mean, after all, who are we? We're just some small family with no one higher up. Everyone above my family is just, they're all worthless. So why should they care, is what the higher up officials are saying to me. Why should I care, is what one person said to me up in Congress. So,
I remember all of my friends and stuff saying to me, CPS doesn't just take your kids away for no reason. You had to have done something.
right? You know how bad it ruins our reputation?
Yes.
No one believes you. It's like, well, you had to have done something. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't seem real. Like, yeah. That's the actual freaking point of why I'm having such a bad problem, because it's not right.
Right. Well, I want you to call in on the radio station. I think it would be very helpful because I think it would answer some of your questions and give you direction.
Right. Well, I greatly support you and your cause, and
I appreciate it. And I thank you for sharing your horrific story. And I would love to do a part 2 and get an update and see what happens.
fantastic. I would love for that to happen. I really hope I could get this message out for anyone that's local around here can add to this, because I know a whole party of like hundreds of thousands of people sued CPS at once. We came together because our disabled kids were getting harassed, and the families, just because they don't understand disabilities. So I really hope this can be a start to something great, give some meaning behind my husband dying.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's help empower people.
Yes, the more of us, the stronger we stand.
That's right. Thanks for your time.
I'm so glad that you shared your story. I appreciate it a lot.
You're welcome. Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Yes. I hope of course. I hope you have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.